I used to think offset accounts were basically cheating, like the one way you beat the bank. And if you've got a mortgage and an offset right now, you probably think the same. But I'm going to say something that will annoy people. Most offsets don't fail because people don't have enough money. They fail because people use them in a way that makes the savings look bigger than they really are. Here's the trap in one line. Offsets reward consistency, not screenshots. Dave has a mortgage. Dave has an offset. Dave's trying. Payday hits and he opens his banking app and sees his offset sitting at, say, 25 grand, sometimes 30. And he thinks, perfect, I'm saving heaps. And he is saving interest, just not as much as he thinks. Because the bank doesn't care about the number you see on payday. The bank cares about the number that sits there most of the time. Mortgage interest is calculated day by day. That means your offset benefit is basically the average balance you hold across the month. That's the villain of this story, average balance. Now watch what happens in real life. Payday hits, the offset jumps up. Then normal life drags it down over the fortnight. Mortgage repayment, groceries, fuel, subscriptions, a rego or insurance bill that lands, a birthday, a weekend away. Nothing insane, just being a human. So by the day before the next pay, Dave's offset might be down to 15 grand. And this is where people get confused. Dave still thinks he has a 25 grand offset because that's the number he remembers. That's the number he screenshots. That's the number that makes him feel safe. But for a big chunk of the fortnight, he's closer to 15. So the savings aren't based on 25. They're based on something in the middle, the average. That's the whole point. Offsets don't reward peaks. They reward consistency. This is also why offsets feel like they're working more than they actually are. Your brain remembers the high number. The bank charges interest on the low number and everything in between. So let's make this concrete without turning it into a math class. If you hover around 25 grand after payday and drift down to 15 by the next payday, your average is roughly 20 grand, meaning you're saving interest like you've got about 20 grand sitting in offset most of the time, not 25. Now, 5 grand doesn't sound like a big deal, but at today's interest rates, over years, that gap becomes real money. And the bigger your swings are, the more you leak. Here's the line that should hit you in the chest. If your offset is also your spending account, you're probably running screenshot savings. It looks good on payday. It's weaker in real life. And this is why banks love the way most people use offsets. Offsets are an incredible product, but the average person sets it up like a wallet. They combine saving and spending in one place. So the offset is constantly being drained and refilled, which means the balance is rarely stable, which means the average is lower than it could be. So what did we change for Dave? One rule. Your offset is not a wallet. It's a vault. Here's the system. Your offset becomes the vault. It's where your surplus lives. It stays high. It stays boring. Then you have a separate everyday account for spending and bills. That's your wallet. When you get paid, money goes into the vault first. Then, automatically, you transfer a fixed allowance into the wallet for the fortnight. Now your daily spending doesn't chew through the vault. Your offset stays more stable. Your average balance rises. And that's where the real interest savings come from. This matters because offsets are brutally simple. Every day your offset is higher, you pay less interest. Every day it's lower, you pay more. You can't outsmart that with vibes. You need structure. So here's the check I want you to do. Don't look at your offset right after payday. Look at your typical balance. What does it sit at most of the time? And what's the lowest it hits before payday? That range tells you whether your offset is acting like a vault or acting like a wallet. If you're using redraw like it's the same thing as offset, be careful. They can behave differently when you refinance, when you need access, and if your situation ever changes. But the main message today is simple. Offsets work. They just work best when the balance is stable. Dave thought he was getting the full benefit because he remembered the payday number. Once we looked at the average, we realized the offset wasn't working as hard as it could. Once we split Volt and Wallet, his average stayed higher, and the savings became real. If you found this explanation valuable, subscribe to the channel. New videos break down Australian finance, wealth, and the systems shaping your future.